Hi everybody, it's Andy from... Oh, it's your turn.
Hi everyone, it's Wouter from Snow Sports Kaproon, together with
Andy from
Snow Camps.
Snow Camp Europe. Yeah, I couldn't remember which company I was working for today. Snow Camp Europe. Confronts number one.
Okay.
And what are we talking about?
If you can still learn to ski if you're over 50.
Okay, good-o.
This should be a very short one because the answer is yes. And podcast done.
If only it was that simple.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is. However, I think there are some certain factors that people will need to think about. So this is coming from an email that I got from somebody who has just had their first ski holiday and is contemplating coming back. Was asking, like, realistically, are they going to get any better? And what were our thoughts on whether or not people could learn to ski over 50? So as you just said, yes, they can. They can. But what we've got to do is we've got to be realistic in, firstly, fitness. You've got to have a certain level of fitness.
50 doesn't mean you're dead.
No, but I know some 30-year-olds who are less fit than 50-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but I also know a lot of 50-year-olds that are less fit than
Yeah, but
they were when they were 40.
But if you got like a massive belly and weigh 380 kilos, you probably won't go skiing, do you? When you're like 65. Got better things to do.
Most likely, yeah.
You
But
want to go to a nice restaurant.
So the fitter you are, the easier it will be and the less chance of injury.
Correct.
Okay? Because the older we get, the more muscle bulk that we lose, the more chance of injury, especially to joints like knees, wrists, shoulders. And we all know someone who's done the knee, and we all know someone who's done the shoulders, and we all know people who've snapped their Achilles.
That Achilles.
So fitness is going to be a contributing factor. The other thing I think is pretty important is, what are your expectations when you say learning to ski? Mm-hmm. So if you did 5 or 6 weeks, so you're going to be then 56, if you're only doing it as a holiday thing once each season, yes, you're going to probably get to a level with tuition where you can ski comfortably your blues and your reds. You might go on to the odd black, but you may never get to smashing down the moguls. You may never get to perfect powder, because you've got to have powder on a few of those holidays to be able to actually go and ski the powder. And you give yourself more of a chance if you were to go and do like a 6 weeks sabbatical and a course at 50, to one experience powder, one experience, get to a level to experience bumps. Yeah. And then maybe you can get a little bit beyond that. But you've got to be realistic with, where do you want to get to? Do you want to comfortably ski down with your kids who are already better than you because they're just 4 and 5, or if you're 50, well, no, I've got, you've got young kids and young kids pick it up quick and you're being left behind. Is the goal just to keep up with the kids? That's realistic. Although the kids are just going to carry on getting better and better and better and better, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, so you just got to have a realistic goal in mind of how good you want to get.
Yes.
I remember
the expectations low.
Yeah.
Like
I remember
having sex the first time.
There was a guy who I got on the chairlift with and said, okay, what's the deal with the lesson? He said, the lesson's for my wife.
Okay.
I said, okay, no problem. We get to the button lift and I says to the wife, I said, just ski towards me and let me have a look at what you're doing. She comes down. I'm like, that's okay. Then the guy skis down and I'm like, okay, so why is the lesson for the wife? Right? And then he said, I'm going to just ski around you and la la la. You work with my wife. By the end, I want to be able to do a 360.
What?
Yeah. Right. So
really?
So I said,
good.
Off the ground, and he said, yeah, I want to be able to go up, spin around, and land
on a kicker, on a small kicker.
Yeah, or a little bump on the Maisgogel.
Phenomenal. How cool is that?
This is what he wants to learn.
Yeah, and
but he can't do a parallel turn.
But that doesn't matter.
Well, I ain't gonna spend 2 hours teaching his wife, who's better than him, to then say, right, this is how you do a 360. So again, you've got to have an idea of your limitations, and what you think you can achieve.
him the 360.
He would have died, honestly. He would have died.
Well, he wanted to do it.
We actually got to the bottom of the Maisco, and he said to me, "You've not done what I asked." And his wife was really happy. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, I haven't learned a 360.
Oh yeah.
And
See, there we
and
go.
I
Andy.
said, okay, then well, let's have a go, right? And we have a little go. It doesn't go well. You know what he did? He went into ski school and complained that I hadn't listened to what he wanted.
Yes. See, that's why
Well, I'm not going to kill him.
I would have
I'm not
done
going
the
to kill him.
360.
So-
you probably would have.
Fitness, realistic goals.
He really
Okay.
complained. So good.
What else is going to be a contributing factor whether you can learn to ski?
Yeah, if you're, it's also come with age. It's your visibility and fear. So on bad weather days, it's difficult. Today we had a bad weather day, and it's fear.
Yeah, the older we
fear.
get, the more we are
fear.
afraid to fall, the more
Correct.
we're afraid of speed, the more we're afraid of people around us because we concentrate on what they're doing rather than what we're doing. And sometimes, to be fair, on the glacier, you've got to do that.
Not this guy. You want to do 360. You should
You want
have
to
done
do 360.
You should have
Okay.
done that.
I think the other thing as well is how much time are you willing to spend? Yeah?
yeah.
How much time are you willing to spend
Yes.
and how much money? Because you might go for 6 weeks of group lessons and get to a certain level where if you can invest that into private or into camps where we have much smaller groups, average of 6 people in a group.
Depending on also the instruction.
Yeah.
The instruction you get, because if you have a more experienced instructor, probably you get more out of it than an inexperienced instructor.
it's
But
with-
here we go again on the same subject.
Yeah, it's okay. We've done that in other podcasts. Not all ski teachers are equal, let's say. Cool. And also,
Yeah, but sorry to come back. I think time is very important, and the older you get, so if you go like for 1 week, you get at this point. Oh, I'm getting a bit better, but then you're not skiing for a whole year. You
Yeah.
come back and you're gonna stay on the same plateau.
yeah.
Where I think the older you get, if you go multiple weeks in the season,
Yeah.
makes much more sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to sell, this, but it really does make much more sense.
Yeah.
Because you can do 2 weeks here, 3 weeks here. I've got like regular guests, and they are in their 60s, they're in their 50s, fit guys, but they just come and they love skiing and they just come for multiple weeks
Yeah.
because they get much
But
more out of it.
even if you do like a week in November and then a week in January, it's better than doing a week in January and then not a week until next January.
Correct.
Because the muscle memory is still there. You've still got the feeling from the end of the first week. So what we normally find is if you have a week in January, your best day, let's say, is your last day, then you're not as good on your first day next year as you were on the last day. And it'll take a day or so to get the feeling back to get to where you were.
Correct.
So you've just used 2 days of a 5-day trip. But if you do 7 days, have 3 or 4 weeks in between, then another 7 days, we see a difference there as well, don't we?
It's always the 2 weeks, and especially when you're older. When you're young, it goes quick. These instructor courses, unless someone is not switched on and you're a bit immature. But in general, it goes really quick. You can get some but if you are like multiple weeks, as it makes a huge difference.
I think something else that is worth considering as well is who are you going skiing with, and also what are the pressures that they're going to
Correct.
put you on. Because if you're going, let's say you're going with a group of friends and most of them can already ski, when you're not in the lesson, they will expect you to keep up with them and you will feel that you've got to keep up with them. Where in fact, what I tell people now is say, listen, it's not your job to keep up with them, it's their job to wait for you or let you go off a little bit in front and then they can come to you. You shouldn't be pressurized in keeping up with them, because if you have got a group of mates who can all ski and they ski relatively fast and they go up and down everything, again, when they say we are going to go up this black, you don't have to go up that black. You should stay where you are and say, right, well, I'll go and do that red again. I'll wait for you at the bottom of the black. Don't feel that you have to go up that black, because then that's when it goes all wrong. And this is when you get your fear comes into it and you haven't got the technique to get down it. You end up sliding down it. You end up taking your skis off. So again, you are still learning to ski. So learn to ski at your pace or the pace set by the teacher, not by your mates who you ski with in the afternoon. Yeah? Cool. So, in summary, you can learn to ski over 50.
And you should.
To be fair, we've had people of 60, 65, 70 come and learn to ski.
Yeah.
I remember I had a beginner group on the Lechnerberg for the whole week and the average age was 62, And we had a great week.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
And it's
And they all
also
went
it's
to work.
fantastic. Also, let's say you have, I mean, 50, okay, but like you're older, you're with your grandchildren. It's a fantastic holiday. It's the nicest
Or your
holiday
new
with
23-year-old
your
wife.
grandchildren. And yes, correct. Oh shit, completely. Yes. No, but it is everyone can learn. Everyone can learn to ski.
Yep.
It's more like if you want it and keep your expectations realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Realistic. Okay, there you go, folks. So, yes is the answer to that question. So Andy from Snow Camp Sure Up, saying bye for now.
And Wouter from Snow Sports Kaproon. See ya. Thanks.
Ciao.